Hello, everyone. My name is always Asmal. Welcome to another episode of Tooways to Skin a Cat, a show where we talk career experiences, entrepreneurship, and investments. The main aim is to show that there's more than one way to be successful other than just climbing the corporate ladder. We are live on LinkedIn and YouTube, and the show will be available on podcast by tomorrow morning. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on that notification bell to get automatically notified when the next episode comes out. If you're joining us live, drop a 1 in the comments so that we know we're not talking to ourselves. And if you're watching the recording, drop a 2 in the comments. My guest for this week is Sithembile Sandla, Chartered Accountant and Assistant Audit Manager at BDO United Kingdom. He's also eligible to register as a CGMA. Sithembile, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Yus.
Let's jump straight into questions. Tell us your story. Where do you come from? And even outside of work, who is Sithembile Sandla? Give us that backstory.
Okay, thank you. Well, as you have said, I'm Sithembile Sandla. I come from Eastern Cape, South Africa, in a small village called Alice. But that's obviously in my culture. Obviously, you've got villages, and you also have got where you probably grew up as well. So I reside in Port Elizabeth as well, which is my hometown. And I'm currently residing in the United Kingdom, England, Reading. Well, I have studied in Fort Hare, which is a town next to Alice. And then I went to Fort Hare. They've got two campuses. There's the one in Alice and the one in East London. So I went to both of them, did part there. Because as you go up, you need to be more acquainted with where the audit firms are, isn't it? So that's where you get to see the career advices that you get from the Big Fours and AG as well, and all the other firms that you see around East London. So it kind of helps you to get acquainted with all of that corporate world. And after Fort Hare, my CTA, I went to the Auditor General, which is the Chapter 9 audit institution. It's a supreme one in South Africa, public sector. So I did my articles there for 3 years. And after that, I moved to Johannesburg to go work there in an audit firm called M&B Chartered Accountants. And almost a year after that, I moved to the United Kingdom. So I didn't spend much time in South Africa working here. And I worked for Ernst & Young, which is one of the Big Four. And subsequent to that, I worked for BDO, which is the largest entity that's auditing the listed client on the LSE. So it's number one in the United Kingdom. So I'm currently working there as an audit manager.
I had no idea. And outside of work?
Outside of work, I'm a person who likes to explore things, like adventurous in terms of going out and about and sightseeing, of course, because it's a different country. And I've only been here for a little while. So I'm still having quite a long bucket list. So I visit those places around UK, and then with the potential of going in other European countries as well very soon. But because of COVID, of course, there was a limitation in that. And I also do have sessions where I have people that ask me to help them in motivating students, be it for CTA or be it for first year or second year or third years. So I do a lot of that. I had quite a few this year as well. But that's all just a gesture to help out. It's not a formal business, so I wouldn't have a card to say motivational speaker or anything like that. So I come as one request and I'm available. So I join in online and I speak. And also, I am a person who spiritual. I have a faith, And I also practice that very much because I believe in God, Jehovah as well. And I believe where I am is through him and everything. So I put that into account as well. And I spend quite a lot of time doing that as well.
Amazing, amazing. Now, you mentioned, you touched on it earlier, you started out at Auditor General. And I've had quite a few trainees from the AG reach out to me in the last few months saying they're struggling to find jobs in corporate, whilst their colleagues outside of public sector find jobs much easier. You seem to be someone who moved from the AG to the private sector and overseas even. Did you have a similar experience struggling to find jobs, and what do you do to get over that hurdle?
Yeah, there is or has been a little bit of a stigma around public sector, the fact that, of course, there's certain aspects of the accounts that you wouldn't be aware of, and also the standards that are used in the public sector in South Africa. However, I did struggle a little bit because I think it was not that open, or the commercial world was not that open to public sector and what they can bring in. Because I remember first around I did apply to come to the UK, but then at that point, the recruitment agency that I'd used at that time, they were like, we don't have opportunities just yet for public sector, but be on the lookout. And then when I finally did come, they're the one who contacted me, because I think they kind of like keep a list of all the people that, so they now headhunted me to say, we have your name down here and we've got an opportunity for public sector. And that has opened quite a lot in the UK for public sector, because there's public sector everywhere in the world. But then as it's just different countries that use resources from abroad, because there's a lot involved in getting someone from abroad to work locally with the sponsorships and the costs that have to do with this. So they also have to think about that. But I think there's been quite a high rise in the need for public sector and even corporate employees in the UK to come and work here and assist. And I think that also it's basically mostly because of the work ethic that we bring in, and they see that there's results that come from cost versus benefit situation, bringing us abroad to come and assist here. And it's not that different. Basically, it's the same. It deals with the same stuff, infrastructure, and trying to make sure that the resources and people's taxes and all of that are used in a certain way or in the intended way. So it's basically the same idea behind it, and boosting the economy as well. So yeah, it was not much of a different transition, because when I came here, I did come under public sector, but then again, it's not difficult to move around once you're already here. Hence now I'm actually not in public sector.
So, I mean, I think you said you joined with EY and then now at BDO. So what's your current client portfolio like? Is it a little bit of public sector, a little bit of private, or are you doing just corporates?
Public. I'm kind of in the middle because I'm mostly for not-for-profit, but then there's not-for-profit is quite broad because it doesn't really maintain the not-for-profit. It kind of goes profit and not profit. So I've got quite a variety of clients amidst charities. We've got housing, social housing, and normal housing with built properties for rental, which where they build for also the government, for people locally to rent from them. And I also have got some education clients, universities, and designation bodies that are also part of that. And yeah, so it's quite a mixture of clients. And the standards used vary as well in terms of UK GAAP and or FRS 102 and all the other compliance-related matters that have to do with us and bodies. So a lot of things come into making up that whole financial statements for us to come and look at. And there's a lot of knowledge that needs to be gained before you can be able to understand, because there's quite a vast elements that come into it and how the business is run to achieve its intended goals.
Okay, so if I was a trainee at the Auditor General, but my passion or my long-term goal was actually to audit in corporate, or even to be outside of audit but in corporate, there's hope. It's not the end of the world. Like there's definitely opportunities for me.
Yeah,
Exactly.
there is opportunities out there for such people. As I said, maybe 4 years back or 5 years back, they would be very minimal. But I think now there's quite a lot, because there's quite a few people, because recruiters in the UK do speak to some of us that they know that you're from South Africa or from wherever, to say, are you aware of anybody who's got your same experience who would want to come by? Anyone qualified who wants to come over? And then majority of them have actually gone straight to corporate. So it is open now. It's just people need to actually make sure that their profiles are well documented and they are impressive enough for people to actually get in touch with them. And also they need to follow the right people. And when I say the right people, I mean recruiters from abroad, because when they see your profile and then they read through it, that's when they make in contact, because most companies in the UK do offer sponsorship for auditing specifically. And then obviously there's always a means to an end for everything, isn't it? So once you get here, you do your auditing, and then later on you can see what you do with your life. But the possibilities are endless.
Okay. Anybody's got any questions for Sithembile, please add them to the comment section now. We'll answer all the questions towards the end. You mentioned that I mean you went to the UK. Was there any specific reason? Is there a long-term intention that you go, or you just going to travel and try new? What was your reasoning for going to the other side of the world?
Yeah, I've always wanted to work abroad. And I think my career choice in terms of studying to be a chartered accountant was also the awareness that it's possible through that. Not saying that's the only way, but for me, that was the way I could manage to do it. And it's always been my end goal to work abroad. And I think you would also see that I didn't just stop with being a chartered accountant, but I also wrote the strategic exam for CIMA to be a chartered global management accountant as well. And as part of that, auditing alone doesn't really help in getting one to actually get the right competencies to finish that. It helps, but does not complete it. So obviously the end goal is to like venture out into non-audit at some point. But at this point, I'm still enjoying auditing, and it's not a rush, because if you've passed the exam, it doesn't get old. It's there, it's yours. So a matter of just getting the portfolio together through working audit and out of audit, and so that I can be able to make the application for the designation next to my name. But then it's always been around what I've wanted to see myself at the end. And everything we do in life is means to an end, because some people go straight for it, and some people tend to venture to other platforms, and at the end getting to their end goals. So I saw everything that I'm doing now, because at school auditing has been my best subject and I've always loved it, and I'm doing what I love at this point. Yes, it's stressful like any other job, but then at least I know I like auditing and I'm good at it. So it's always been something that I've wanted to do when I get out of school. And there's also some things else that I want to do, because I do want to go to the corporate world, be sitting and advising the board what they should do, which is what the whole CGMA platform gives. And at the end, I do want to go be a lecturer, because I'm a person who likes to speak. I like to help people learn. I like to learn as well. So there's a lot of things that I want to do. So everything is just means to an end. Getting to sit at different tables of the corporate world and seeing different people and getting different experiences from different people. Yeah.
There's a long-term plan there. It sounds like it. I like it.
Yeah.
You touched on it a little bit, but let's talk CIMA CGMA. You one of the few CASAs that I know who's also done the CGMA qualification.
Mm-hmm.
Why? And again, you touched on it a little bit, but why did you decide to go the CGMA route? And would you advise others to do the same, and why?
Well, I did the CGMA route because sometimes as a person, you look up to people that have done things and they tell you why. And then you're like, okay, I want to try it out. One of the things why I did it was that it was a challenge to myself, because one of the courses that I did not gel with really well was financial management and finance related at school. So I decided to do it because I was like, okay, now I've qualified and okay, it's okay, I'm a CA now. I did that. But then usually people say CIMA is more on the financial management aspects of things. Let me do this because I've got time, and maybe let me just prove myself that as much as it was the worst subject, but I can do this. So that was the first one. And secondly, when I got to actually study around it, I found out actually it's not even that deep as we were doing at school. It's more strategic level, how, those funding related areas and business decisions, key risks, and all those things. And that also comes in a little bit into auditing, because business risk we look at as well, isn't it? So, and it all just came really, natural. And obviously there were those pieces where I felt like, okay, well, this is the part that I hated at school. Okay, now I've got a lot of time because I don't have any other course to do than this. So let me deal with it. So I was able to do it that way. And also I think the end goal was also just to be in that position to sit at that, board level aspects and just look at things from the top down. Because that's what CIMA does, because it's more of advising the board and not just the CFO. It's not just about the accounting part of it, but it's more about the strategic decisions that need to be made for the business or the company to move forward. So I just wanted to have that balanced of both views of it and just equip myself in all of that. So basically, that's what motivated me.
Okay, and so I suppose it depends on what you want to do if you were somebody else thinking about it. Okay.
Yeah, as well, because yeah.
And you mentioned also earlier, to just jump back, you did your undergrad at University of Fort Hare. Did you do your CTA there as well? And what was your experience like?
Yes, I did my undergrad there and my CTA there as well. It was tough. It was tough. It because it's a university that it is known for its history, and at the same time it comes with challenges because of probably how it's perceived and so on. But then in terms of, I would say sometimes there will be funding issues here and there, but generally that will be taken care of as well, as long as you reach that CTA level. And then, however, I feel like there's a lot more that can be done to assist the university to go forward in that aspect, in terms of, the corporate world coming in and see where they can assist. And also, just the nature of the course as well. It was really tough trying to, juggle school and also trying to make sure that you achieve your goal, because there's a lot of pressure once you get to that level. But then it made it easier, being in the same environment and seeing the same people, because obviously you have your third-year lecturers that are coming up there, so you know them better, so they know you better, they advise you better, they know your potentials, and they know where to tell you that now you're setting yourself a failure, now you're not. And it actually took me a little bit of a while to actually understand that they are there to help me. I just need to use them enough. So there was the other challenge, that the turnaround time, we actually know what strategy actually works and one that doesn't. So it's quite a bit of a mountain to get there. But eventually all those coming together did bring the intended outcome, obviously. And yeah, it was just like that. But also I think being in that surrounding of say East London being a small town, it's not a huge town, so kind of helped a little bit, because everything is centered So yeah, and also being around the people that you've known for the past 4 or 5 years or so, it also helps because you build that community to helping each other, and so that you all get to the same finish line. Yeah.
Okay. Let's jump back a little bit to your journey overseas. What would you do differently if you did the whole thing again?
If I were to do the whole thing again, if I'm being honest, I don't think I would do anything differently, because, as I say, I'm a person who likes to explore. So being in the Big Four, and then probably being in the locomotive audit, and then after that I move, and then I come to the UK or whatever the case is, I don't think that would have worked for me, because at the same time, I think that exposure from the public sector, I feel it played its role, or its part in my career as well. You know, the building up, working for AG, understanding how things are run in the country, because that's one of the things that you don't become a politician, but you get to understand how everything works, how the monies go from taxes to the next level, to the next level, and to the street that you see on the road that's built. So it gives you that knowledge around you, as to say, oh, okay, you also understand all of that, how the municipalities and the departments run. So I feel that I wouldn't know that experience if I wasn't going through that route. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to go study politics and so on to get to know that information. But I feel like this route helped me, and also now trying to help in being a key element in ensuring that whatever resources that are spread throughout the country, you are aware of what they are and what they need to do in terms of the budgets, allocation, and so on. And then you go check if that was done, and you feel like you actually adding value to the country itself. So I think for me, that was one of the things that was very exciting working with the AG. And obviously venturing out was a matter of saying, okay, 3 years, almost 4 years is okay. I can now try something else. So I think in life, I'm that person who likes to try new things all the time. And also, I think because we know in our career, there's ups and downs. You go to corporate world, you go to this entity, there's this, there's that. But at the same time, you need to find something that works for you, because we also need to guard against our mental health as well. So you need to also find that one place where you feel like when you wake up, you are able to work in that environment. So I think it's been a mixture of all of that. But at the same time, I think for all the experiences that I got, I'm grateful, and I wouldn't have done it differently. I think they all built up and made the person that I am today.
Let's say I was someone from South Africa considering applying for a job in the UK. You mentioned cleaning up your LinkedIn profile. You've mentioned following international recruiters. Is there anything else that you can recommend to ease the application and maybe even the transition?
I think as far as trying to move, because mostly the recruiters use LinkedIn most of the time. They headhunt, or you could follow them and you could inbox. You could make use of internet as well to get the list of UK recruiters in the financial side of things, and you'll get that list and you start following them. And very, very key and important, making your profile. Obviously, you're not going to lie, but make sure that you document your skills, because the skill set is what matters when you get here. It's not necessarily how big the qualification is, because obviously being a CA is one of the requirements, because they want a qualified person. But at the same time, your profile needs to sell to them that this person is able to do the job based on the background history of the skill set, where they've worked, what did they gain from there. So it's important to have that structured very nicely for them to read it and feel, okay, this person can come over, this person can do this. And obviously the interview itself is just the formal situation where now you talk your profile, you bring it to the verbal platform. which is great and will help then for you to get the job. And then once you've moved over here, I think some people tend to not be sure where to stay when they get to England, because some will say, oh, definitely London, oh, definitely this, where. It depends on each person's circumstances, because some people move straight to London, and that's good because London is the capital city and everybody knows that, and everybody wants where the capital is at. But at the same time, if you think about your circumstances because of the standard of living, obviously it's way higher there than anywhere else, but there's closer places that you could stay in as well. If you've got a family, there's places where they've got good schools close to where people stay. You could walk your child. You don't need to buy a car right away. You don't need to get a taxi as well. You could walk your child to school and you could go to work via the same lines. So places around like Cambridge's and all those places. And so there's a lot of things to look at when you move, but each person needs to look at their own circumstances and what they want to achieve. But generally, I think it works for everyone. It accommodates everybody. Yeah.
As long as I can watch my soccer team, that's the most important thing. So we'll have to get that one out.
Definitely. All the stadiums are open now, so people are going up and down Manchester's and all those other areas watching. And yeah.
Let's go through questions. We've got 2 questions that have come through. We've got one from Shayur, who you saw. Sorry, that's not the question. The question is, you've touched on it a little bit, but it says, any advice on how to improve CV so that you're not looked down upon as coming from the AG?
As I said before, I think most people have their CVs with, I think from the past few years, people have moved away, but maybe some still do, with all that personal information. Nobody really wants to know that yet. They will know that when they're interested in you. So if you've got your skill set from AG, there was quite a lot of things that I learned from there, because I didn't just leave as a trainee. I left as at least a senior. So at that point, and if at AG, the way they do it, by the time you get to 3rd year, you're almost running the project. So all those skills about managing people, even if it's just a 2nd year and the 1st year or 2, it's important for you to put that down, and what skills you had to put forward to manage those people to ensure that they get the results. And also even the SICA competency plan forces you to do things on your projects in order for you to be able to qualify as a CA. So if you've gone that route of qualifying as a CA, I think they all come with it. You just need to be able to keep a portfolio on a daily basis to say, as you keep for your competency for SICA accreditation, to say, if I've been able to manage this and was able to help someone who was in need in the team, that shows or demonstrates your management styles as well. They want to see that. And also your work ethic. If you had a difficult situation, you need to put down your skill set, how you've managed to get through situations, put that down in your CV. And also, I think mentioning the sector and a little bit of information around what happens there. Because if you just say public, people might put an umbrella on it, but that's not generally or necessarily what it is, just public. There's also accounting involved that needs to be put into place when you're doing the actual work. So it's important for you to put that down as well. So if I'm just putting it on an overall, each and everything that you do on a daily basis, don't skip some and think they're irrelevant. Everything is irrelevant that you do on the job.
So skills are important, and the relevance of the specific sector that you work in for the clients. Okay, I like it. And one last question has come through is, in your view, is there an interest in recruiting CGMAs from South Africa?
Well, I personally was not recruited because of that, because I don't think, because I don't really have that yet. It's just eligibility. But I think because it comes with that, with all the accounting background of it, and all those and other sorts of aspects that come with CGMA, it shouldn't be an issue. But then I don't think in terms of, because when you move to the UK, you need to be sponsored. And the market at this point, it's mainly auditing that doesn't mind doing that, even though there's also rules around it, but they do it. But then the other companies where you're going to come in and be a financial manager straight away and so on, they're not really open to that yet. Hence, if you're already sponsored or you don't need a sponsor, you are able to just come in and then you go to work straight away. There is a market, but there's that issue of sponsorship, which you need for the first 5 years that you're here. And not all companies are really, wanting to do that. Obviously, from a strategic perspective for them, of course.
I think that's a great way to round off. Any last few words from you, or anything we didn't discuss that you'd like the audience to know?
Basically, I think it's for everyone who's in public sector, having that mindset to think that the doors are unlimited for you staying, at the AG. If you don't stay, then you've got nothing else that you're going to do. That is wrong. We need to stop that. There's vast opportunities out there. Even if within South Africa, you don't need to move abroad, but you also can move abroad now, which is very vital to know that you've got all that information that you've gained from AG, and then you come and bring it in here. And anyway, auditing is auditing everywhere you go. You just need to learn the standards and the way they're doing it, the company culture that you're in. That's basically what you need to know. So that having that mindset of a closed door, it's not going to help anyone. And another thing is that you don't even need to stay in auditing at all. There's also other things that you can do, even though you've got an AG background. You could go to corporate as well. You could venture out of auditing. So we need to move away from that. It's so old. And in this current situation that we're in now, things are open to everyone who's got a CA qualification.
The one thing that's limiting you is your mind. Agreed.
Yeah.
That's a great way to end. The show has been live on YouTube and should be available on podcast by latest tomorrow morning. If you are watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast and you feel this added value, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on that notification bell so that you get automatically notified when the next episode comes out. Sithembile, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us for another episode of Tooways